welcome back to the Week 15 edition of my weekly NFL Pick'em. Smell that? Playoff season is in the air, but I've got something special for you this week. In honor of college football bowl season kicking off, I have given ridiculous bowl names to every single game this week. Some of them are pretty dumb. In fact, all of them are probably pretty dumb. But hey, it's Week 15. There's only 3 more weeks left. Half of these games don't even matter. So I wanted to add a little bit of something to the video this week. If you guys are still here, still watching these videos, first off, I want to say I appreciate you so greatly for tuning in every single week, helping me grow this channel. Please hit that like button. Our goal is 500 likes before Thursday Night Football every single week. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. But before we get started, I want to clarify something for not just this video, but past videos, future videos. I made a mistake last week on the Redskins-Packers game. The score that I said did not reflect the score that was shown on the screen. Now, I'm using a template for each and every week that I just update based on the weeks from before, and sometimes the score won't update if I don't hit the right button. Fun story, I actually bought this MacBook Pro just for this YouTube channel so that I could have a reliable, powerful laptop that could edit videos, but the keyboards are all terrible. They made these butterfly keyboard things. It's a long story, but they suck. Anyways, listen to what I say over what I show on the screen if it's not already obvious that it was a mistake on the screen. A lot of times there's so much data entry into these videos that you will get a typo basically from week to week. But to be honest, the comments are always popping whenever there's an obvious mistake like that. You guys are actually leaving comments, so maybe I should just put a surprise mistake in each video. I don't know. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump into week 15. On Thursday Night Football this week, we have the preseason in December Bowl. There's a chance that the MVP Lamar Jackson won't be able to play in this game due to a quad injury, and while that would be a disappointment for us as fans, this game could potentially not matter at all, and the Ravens are gonna need him down the stretch, so they might as well keep him out on a short week and see if they can just still beat the Jets with RG3 at quarterback. I like their chances, but even if they lose this game and then take care of the Browns and the Steelers in their final 2 games, they will still lock up the #1 seed in the AFC. Meanwhile, the Jets managed to win last week against the Dolphins despite their efforts otherwise, and they are facing a much better team even without Lamar Jackson. And me personally, I would tune in to see RG3 get a full game of reps because once upon a time he was Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson. RG3 might not have been quite as dynamic of a runner as Lamar Jackson in his day, but he was a more accurate passer as a rookie until the injuries robbed him of his long speed and agility, which made him easier to defend and keep in the pocket, and poor guy just never got his confidence back trying to restart his career with the Cleveland Browns. The rumors also make it sound like he wasn't the best teammate during his time with the Redskins, but this fall from grace has surely been a humbling experience and hopefully matured him. And let's be honest, it would be hard not to have confidence while being a member of this 2019 Baltimore Ravens squad. Plus, who doesn't love a good redemption story?
I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo. Lamar Jackson in the flesh. Yes, sir.
And shout out to Lamar Jackson for this subtle yet effective move of wearing the white sleeves and white gloves last week after the 49ers beat reporter or whatever his name is made that really ignorant comment about, you know what, I'm not even going to get into it. Ravens win 27-24. Patriots at Bengals. This is the Wildcats Bowl. Cheetahs versus Tigers. There are rumors of the New England Patriots filming guys once again, and while most of us probably roll our eyes at the sheer idea of another Patriots insert the blank gate, it would be a pretty sad story if the Patriots truly felt like they needed to cheat to get an advantage over the worst team in the league. In fact, it's almost believable based on the way that they've played lately. Imagine this prestigious franchise losing a game to the worst team in the league. I mean, that would be pretty embarrassing, and I would kind of get it actually. This is going to be the Bengals Super Bowl. Think about it, every player that has had to struggle through this terrible season in Cincinnati, this would completely soften the blow for them if they could remember ending the Patriots dynasty basically with one of the biggest upsets of this generation. Don't worry, I'm not crazy enough to actually pick this game as my upset special, but at the same time, I wouldn't be overly surprised if it happens. And if it did, you could probably expect Antonio Brown to be a New England Patriot by Tuesday or Wednesday if the Patriots can't manage to score more points than the Bengals. But I say Patriots win 34-24. Buccaneers at Lions. I mentioned a few weeks ago about doing some research on Jameis Winston potentially owning the stat for most interceptions thrown on the first drive of the game, but last week he managed to outdo himself once again by throwing an interception on the first pass of the game. Winston actually injured his hand late in the game against the Colts and might not be able to play this week against the Lions. The Buccaneers offense will already be without Mike Evans, who pulled a hamstring. That seems to be a theme this week. So the passing game should be centered around Chris Godwin, who I think could carry an offense as a wide receiver 1. So the Jameis Winston injury is definitely the more more serious one moving forward, but really, the Bucs season's over in like 3 weeks, and the Lions season's been over, or at least as good as over for a while now. I do think though that playing in this game is a good opportunity for Jameis Winston to show that he is a gritty franchise quarterback that's not going to let a little hand injury keep him out of a game, and tell the front office that they can rely on him down the stretch, because the only guys that still believe that he is a franchise quarterback is the guys in the Bucs front office anyways, so I assume that Jameis is going to play. For the Lions, Matt Patricia is just trying to keep the ship afloat for that 2020 job security. Bucs win 34-17. Texans at Titans. Maybe it was a trap game after beating the Patriots like that, but the Texans, they need to hold Bill O'Brien to the same standard that Jason Garrett is being held to by Jerry Jones. You either get a deep playoff run or the team needs to move on. I actually consider myself one of Bill O'Brien's few supporters out there, but the inconsistencies of this Texans team go back for as long as he's been the head coach there, and it was tolerable while the Texans were still searching for a real quarterback, but they can't waste Deshaun Watson on this guy. I'd love to see a guy like Mike McCarthy get his hands on this roster, especially if the Texans are one and done in the playoffs this year. But Bill O'Brien still has to take care of the former Houston team at least once in 2 of the next 3 weeks just to win the division. The Texans will hold the tiebreaker over the Titans if they split in this weird scheduling scenario, with both of their matchups taking place in the final 3 games of the regular season. A month ago, it looked like the Texans were going to run away with this division, but a late surge from Derrick Henry and the 2019 comeback player of the year, Ryan Tannehill, these guys have them looking as good as any team right now and primed to steal the AFC South at the last minute. This is one of the best games of the week, and I'm really interested to see if both teams opt to keep their offenses wide open, or if they're going to scale it back to a more conservative approach with so much on the line. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm TikTok famous now. Yeah, thanks to that Ryan Tannehill tackle after his interception last week, I posted it on TikTok, and now I'm pretty much famous. But just kidding, guys. I'm leaning towards the Texans bouncing back here, but I fully expect the Texans and Titans to split this series. I'm just not sure if the home team wins both times or the away team wins both times. Texans win 24-21. Broncos at Chiefs. This is our quarterback has a stronger arm than your quarterback bowl. Now, don't let me placing the blame on Bill O'Brien for last week's performance by the Texans take anything away from Drew Lock. I thought this guy had franchise quarterback potential coming out of Missouri, and I literally mocked him to the Broncos in the first round of almost every 2019 NFL mock draft. The fact that he fell to them like that did make me pause though and reconsider if I had overestimated him. And the jury is still technically out on him, because we've seen other quarterbacks come in and have outrageous success and production, only to fall back to earth once defenses get some film on how to defend them. So relax, I'm not putting him in the Hall of Fame after 1 or 2 good games, but with guys as recently as this season, like Kyle Allen come to mind, he had a almost historic start to his career, only to fall off and look like quite the bum now. And the knock on Drew Lock, haha, see what I did there? The knock on Drew Lock is that he can be a little bit careless at times with that cannon of an arm, and his accuracy isn't always on point. I know that probably sounds like a familiar scouting report for Chiefs fans listening to this, and that's because Patrick Mahomes had a very similar pros and cons section of his pre-draft profile. Now, I'm not saying that Drew Lock is going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. We don't even know the full narrative on Mahomes' story yet. So anyways, nonetheless, I like my quarterback to have a certain presence or moxie to them. It's something that you can't teach, but it's an infectious energy that you bring to the huddle and it spreads to your teammates. Drew Lock and Patrick Mahomes are like spicy mustard, while Kyle Allen is reduced fat mayo. Both can get the job done when you're making a sandwich, but one of them enhances the flavor of everything on that sandwich, and the other one just keeps the bread from sticking to the roof of your mouth. I'm excited to see if Drew Lock can in fact keep it going against a Chiefs defense that has been better than expected coming into the season, but still has its struggles maintaining the production of the Chiefs offense. Basically, the Broncos offense is going to get its chance to eat, but the element of surprise is no longer going to be there after that not so subtle beatdown of the Texans. I'm going with the Chiefs here though, because they are the better coached team compared to the Texans and will be more prepared for Drew Lock and this offense. But these matchups do typically stay pretty close, and those are the games where the Broncos were starting those light mayonnaise quarterbacks like Trevor Siemian. Chiefs win 31-28. Dolphins at Giants. The Chase Young Bowl. But how about ESPN hyping up that Monday Night Football game as if it was going to be Eli Manning's last career start? Thanks a lot, ESPN. It sounds like Eli's services might be called upon one more time in what could be the tiebreaker for Chase Young in the 2020 NFL Draft. It'll be pretty funny to me if you can blame or, credit Eli Manning if the Giants end up missing out on Chase Young. But really, I don't even think it's going to matter, because the Giants can win this one, and then the Dolphins might end up winning next week against the Bengals and bring us right back to where we started. Let's not waste too much time on these bottom feeders. I think that Eli will win this one and finish his career record as a 500 quarterback, which feels pretty fitting for him. Giants win 31-23. Eagles at Redskins. Man, the NFC East really is terrible this year. I'd like to apologize on behalf of one quarter of the division. Last week, the Eagles had to crawl back at home against Eli Manning on Monday Night Football, making his first career start in over 2 months, only to squeak by with a win in overtime. Alshon Jeffrey's out again with another injury, and this time it's for the season. He said that he heard something pop, but then it turns out it was a foot injury, so hopefully it's not an Achilles injury. I assume that we would know by now, but I don't know what else in your foot pops like that. Anyways, the Redskins, they played a good game in Lambeau, but weren't able to overcome the talent difference. It feels like there's another talent mismatch in this matchup with the Eagles, but the Eagles talent hasn't been playing up to the expectations lately, and this is set up nicely for the Redskins to play spoiler. Losing Darius Geis won't help, but they should just let Adrian Peterson add some yardage to the old career total. He's like 70 yards away from passing Curtis Martin for 5th all time, so hopefully he can do that this week or next. Obviously, I'll be rooting for the Redskins in this one, but I expect the Eagles to keep things alive for next week's matchup against the Cowboys. Eagles win 26-20. Seahawks at Panthers. Now, I'm not sure if the Rams are back or if the Seahawks just had a bad day, a really bad day. So maybe they aren't unbeatable, but I still like the potential of this Seahawks team, and it makes sense that they would have been susceptible to a bad game given the scenario against a division rival, Sunday Night Football. Now they have to travel cross country for a 10 a.m. kickoff. Luckily for them, the Panthers essentially quit at halftime last week and could be in a situation to do the same this week if the Seahawks come out and just outwork them. I don't know why Will Grier isn't getting a chance to start yet, but I'm sure that he's getting more and more reps in practice each and every week, and the following week is an indoor game against the Colts defense. That might be the one to make the switch. The problem is, even if Will Grier looks good, is that the basket you want to put all your eggs in and bring him in as your starting quarterback in 2019? I'm not sure it makes a difference. It's time for you guys to stop pounding so much and just keep on losing. Seahawks win 33-17. Bears at Packers. After dogging Mitch Trubisky all season, it shouldn't really surprise me that he went and shredded the Cowboys defense last week. He'd actually been playing a lot better in the few games prior, but let's not carry it away and think that he's all of a sudden rounded the corner here, because the defenses that he has faced in the last month have not been good ones. I've been saying for years that the Cowboys can't continue to think that they'll just go out and out-execute their opponent every week. They need to incorporate more disguises on both sides of the ball. I couldn't tell you the thought process there by Garrett and Rod Marinelli, other than to simplify the scheme so that players can play fast and confidently. The problem is that it doesn't take a high football IQ to read what you're doing pre-snap, and then that allows the quarterback to play and make their reads even faster too. So that makes it a great matchup for a guy like Trubisky. But this Packers defense, while they haven't been stopping people from getting yardage, they're playing at a much higher level than I think the Cowboys right now, and they incorporate a lot of hybrid defensive looks. So basically, they're not coming out waving a big cover 2 or cover 3 flag for the quarterback to see pre-snap. And even though I feel like I'm souring on this Packers team more and more every week, I do like them to handle their business against lesser opponents. There's something off with Aaron Rodgers though, and I just don't see him turning on the magic like he used to. Maybe he's saving it for the playoffs and just doing enough to secure wins right now, but to me, this Packers team is set up to have a real downer in the playoffs. But we'll have to stay tuned for that. As for now, Packers win 28-21. Vikings at Chargers. Last week against the Lions, the Vikings did pretty much what you want to see from a contender by taking complete control at home against an inferior opponent and not letting up for the entire game. If I'm nitpicking, the offense did kind of go MIA in the second half, but with the way the defense was playing, it didn't really matter, and they were a garbage time touchdown away from a shutout. Despite being eliminated from the playoffs last week, the Chargers absolutely steamrolled the Jaguars. Maybe Philip Rivers heard all of the critics saying that he was washed up, and he came out firing Uncle Rico style in that Jaguars D, which, mind you, is a shell of the version that we saw earlier this year, by the way, but Rivers brought his special brand of energy once again.
He's going for 90-yard touchdown! 90-yard touchdown!
But don't do that by my ear. Don't do it by my ear. Now.
I will do it by my ear. No.
Hey,
That's what I do.
1-7.
It's pretty sad, but Philip Rivers is probably still going to be playing in his last few NFL games here, so enjoy it while you can. But it is good to see him and the coaches get on the same page and set him up for some easy passes to allow the playmakers in this Chargers offense to just go to work. Even though one team doesn't really have anything to play for, this is setting up for potentially a really good game. I know I'm being kind of soft this week by not picking any real upsets, but hey, try to give me a break. It's late in the season. I got burned by a lot of upset specials last week. I'm just here for the entertainment now. I just want you guys to be informed. Hopefully, I'm bringing attention to the games where I see an opportunity for an upset to happen so that you can make your picks or bets or whatever you're doing based on the information and opinions that I'm sharing with you. With that said, I am sticking with the Vikings in this one, but I don't feel great about it. I still don't trust Kirk Cousins to really get it done when it counts. But here we got Vikings winning 23-20. Jaguars at Raiders. Both of these teams have had a roller coaster of a season, and including them in the playoff conversation feels like ages ago. If the Jaguars allow Derek Carr to do to them what Phillip Rivers and the Chargers did to them last week, Doug Marrone could be getting fired on Monday. But I do kind of expect the Raiders to roll in this one with it being their final game in the infamous black hole, and maybe you can place a little bit of blame on this looming move to Las Vegas for the Raiders' downward spiral in the last month. Not making excuses for them, but they were playing a lot better than this not too long ago. But I think they get back on track for maybe the final few games here. Raiders win 38-21. Browns at Cardinals. Now we've got the Lincoln Riley Heisman Bowl with the previous two #1 overall draft picks facing off. When it comes to surrounding talent, it's pretty obvious that Baker Mayfield's going to get the edge here. But how crazy is that Cliff Kingsbury gets the obvious nod when it comes to who has the edge in coaching? I keep waiting for the Browns to just completely quit on this season because I can't think of a team that needs an offseason quite like the Browns do now. But there's probably also some hesitation there because nobody in that locker room wants to face Odell Beckham Jr. questions all offseason regarding his future there. I think it would be crazy to give up on Odell after one season, especially if he's been dealing with a sports hernia. But if he actually wants to leave after all that hype about being a dream to join Jarvis Landry and their LSU wide receivers coach, then he can go because Cleveland is a blue-collar football town that doesn't have time for this Real Housewives kind of drama. But back to real football talk, Kyler Murray's clearly limited with that hamstring injury and has not been showing off his mobility, but props to him for continuing to go out there. I kind of expect him to have a little bit more flexibility in the hamstring this week as he lays it all in the line in an attempt to one-up his former teammate across the field. This is another pretty interesting game considering both teams are essentially playing for pride, but this quarterback battle will have me tuned in. Browns win 27-26. Rams at Cowboys. Of course the Rams get their act together right before playing the Cowboys. Honestly, I'm pretty fed up with my Cowboys here, and I should be rooting for losses by now, but this garbage can of a division still has us set up to make the playoffs, and this feeling of limbo is probably worse than just being knocked out of the playoffs by early December. I feel like I just want to be put out of my misery, while at the same time, I can't help but feel optimistic that a switch can be flipped and this team won't have wasted a whole year with this talented young roster, just ending in another home playoff loss. But what will be even worse for either the Eagles or the Cowboys, whoever wins this division, is that they won't even have those fun regular season memories to help get them through the offseason. You know, when you have a good season, it's special. It has a special place in your heart and your memories, but neither of these teams are going to have that this year. Now, most competitors would want to get revenge against the team that knocked them out of the playoffs in the previous season, but I highly doubt that this Cowboys team has that kind of fight left in them. So bring it on, Rams. You can't hurt us anymore because we're already dead inside. Rams win 33-24. Falcons at 49ers. In the Kyle Shanahan Bowl, I think it's pretty obvious who you should pick in this game, but I do anticipate the Falcons to at least make it an entertaining game, especially after the rival Saints laid out the blueprint to putting up points and moving the ball against this 49ers defense. The problem is that most teams don't have the offensive line that the Saints do, nor do they have a guy like Sean Payton calling the shots. Now, the Falcons did have a guy like that, and they let him walk out the door. Don't worry, Falcons fans, I know you're paying. But before I move on from the Falcons side of this, I want to give a UVA shout out to my boy Olamide Zaccheaus. That's right, Olamide Zaccheaus. If you were paying attention to me during the last draft season, I was trying to give this guy to every single team in the 6th or 7th round when I did some 7-round mock drafts, but I guess no NFL scouts were watching my videos, so hey, they missed out on a potential gem. Oh well, their loss is the Falcons game. But hey, how about that 49ers and Saints game? Woo! If you didn't see it, you should go check out the highlight video. That thing's probably 20 minutes long with how many crazy plays there were in that game. I think everybody is in agreement that it would be pretty cool to see a rematch of that in the playoffs. My hesitation with the 49ers though has always been that I felt like they were relying too much on guys with a long checkered history of injuries in way too many key spots, and that tends to burn you in the long run. They've managed to keep everyone pretty healthy so far, at least managed injuries well, but now they're starting to rack up. Richard Sherman and Dee Ford are both dealing with hamstring strains, and honestly, I would just put both of those guys on ice for the playoffs. If you can lock up one of the top 2 seeds, you're looking at a month off for these guys. That should be plenty of time to get not only a hamstring strain gone and out of your system, but you should be 100% in a month from now, barring any setbacks. And having Richard Sherman's brain just on the sideline can really help you in preparation and in-game adjustments. Now, the injury that could prove to be way more detrimental is the loss of the 49ers starting center, Weston Richburg, for the season, and this could impact how effective this 49ers running game has been. The guy replacing him, Ben Garland, actually spent the past couple of seasons with the Falcons, and now he gets to make his first start of the year against his former team, and I do love a good revenge game. Ben Garland's probably feeling pretty slighted after the Falcons made sweeping changes to their offensive line, and he was not included. 49ers win 31-21. Bills at Steelers. Look at the Bills getting flexed into a Sunday night football game. They've played really well this season, and they deserve it. They can clinch a playoff spot with a win in Pittsburgh this Sunday night. So this is definitely going to be an interesting game. The Steelers have playoff hopes that are still alive and well themselves, and could be getting a big lift to their offense this week in Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner, who have both been out since week 11. Another notable aspect of this matchup, I saw a tweet that said this is the first time in NFL history that 3 brothers will be playing in the same game, which is pretty cool. Congrats to the Edmonds family on that, although they've got to be pretty torn on who to root for in this one. Me personally, I am really into what the Steelers are doing. I am a front office nerd, and I love the way that they have built this defense, but I want to see the Bills win because they actually still have a chance to challenge the Patriots for the AFC East. We haven't seen that in a long time, and honestly, I'm kind of good on the Steelers even making the playoffs because I prefer teams that are not on their third string quarterback, and I would much rather see the Texans and the Titans in the playoffs and have the Steelers take up one of those wild card spots, and we have to deal with the duck references all week long leading up to the game. I'm good. Bills win 19-16. And then on Monday Night Football, we have got Colts at Saints. Now, I know Saints fans will disagree with me, but it is a shame that they can't flex out Monday Night Football games, or else this one would definitely be getting the old boot for me. But I know that the scheduling works in the Saints' favor because Drew Brees sure does love playing at home under the lights, and that energy that he brings will be a big key for them coming off of such a devastating loss to the 49ers. While us neutral parties, we thoroughly enjoyed that 49ers game. Those shootouts, those are some of the hardest ones to lose. I mean, Sean Payton also, he just really laid it all out on the line for that one, and now they have to match up against a team that they're probably going to underestimate it first, and there's likely to be a natural fatigue from that game. Oh yeah, and by the way, Drew Brees only needs 3 touchdowns to break Peyton Manning's all-time record for the most career touchdown passes in NFL history. I don't know if this is one of those conspiracy theory moments, or if the NFL schedule makers are just really good at projecting a moment like this falling on a Monday Night Football game against Peyton Manning's former team. You know me, I would love to jump on board with this being a conspiracy, and hey, I'd also love for the schedule makers to be that competent and able to project a moment like these into primetime games, but it would have been pretty hard to anticipate Drew Brees only having 20 touchdowns at this point in the season. So with his injury forcing him to miss a large chunk of games, I think this is just dumb luck on the league's part, but let me know what you guys think. With the loss to the Buccaneers, the Colts season, it's pretty much over, and it would require quite a large collapse from multiple teams for them to sneak in. They would need to win out, and they would need one of the AFC South rivals, the Titans or the Texans, to lose out, and they need the Steelers to lose out. So sorry, Colts fans, not looking good for you guys right now, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't still play spoiler in some of these games. The problem is, if I can put my conspiracy hat back on real quick, remember the last time Drew Brees broke a record on primetime? There were quite a few questionable calls in that game to help the Saints secure that W. So while I anticipate a good game, I highly doubt the Colts have a chance at winning this one. Saints win 35-24. This week, I'm not going to go too in depth on the playoff prediction side of these videos, mostly just because it takes a long time to do and not much has really changed from the previous week. Either next week for week 16 or maybe just for week 17, I will do a full in-depth breakdown of how I see the playoffs playing out. But right now, this is what it looks like for the wild card matchup with the Ravens, Chiefs, Seahawks, and Saints locking up those bye weeks. If you want to know my Super Bowl prediction, go check out the end of last week's video. There's a timestamp in the description so you can skip right to it. But instead of prepping a bunch of extra stuff for this, I wanted to take a little extra time on the meat and potatoes of this video. Now let's jump into the Pigskin Pick'em recap. Funny story on the Pigskin Pick'em. I explained this a few weeks ago, but I'll explain it again if you guys forget or don't remember. It's really easy to forget to enter your picks in each week. I get it. I've done it a few times. So what I did was I went ahead and entered in some early picks for the rest of the season. Well, it turns out last week I forgot to update my picks to be the same as the picks in my video. So while I felt like I got burned by some upsets that I had picked in the video last week, my score on ESPN's Pigskin Pick'em does not actually reflect that. And with this mistake, I managed to get myself up to tie the top score on the weekly leaderboard. I think this is the second time that this has happened where I did better with my early picks than I did by updating them. Some of you might be a little slighted by that or a little frustrated, but don't worry. Even if I finished first on this list, I wouldn't actually take the $100 NFL Shop gift card that I plan on giving to the top guy on the board at the end of the season. With that said, through 15 weeks, the overall leader of the NFL Retweet Pick'em Challenge is Mr. Dustin Peterson, 97. And then 2 picks behind him, we have a 2-way tie for S Cavs 1 and Zeke 1369. It is still anybody's game though. I really jumped up with that 14-point week, and I am now tied for 16th overall, which is pretty awesome. I'm doing a lot better than I did last year, honestly. I think the trick though is to not overthink it and go with your gut. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's going to do it for this week though. Good luck to your football teams. I hope everybody stays healthy. Good luck in your fantasy football playoffs. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. Don't forget, we're trying to hit 500 likes before Thursday Night Football. Thanks again, and I will see see you all in the next video.